Hello, part two. Remember, we're talking about assimilation and also the inspiration of looking through the window of enlightened ones, their form, their words, their life, their essence. So, continuing, these avatar windows, these paramahansas, these yogis and saints, they show us the way just by looking at them, that we can connect, that we can understand, that we can comprehend in a very spiritual, ethereal way. These windows give us blissful contacts with spirit. Bliss is ecstasy in the nervous system. Your whole body is just full of utter delight. As a result of blissful contacts with spirit, we suddenly are immersed in spirit. All we're aware of is spirit. And we swim in spirit. All of these possibilities, I tell you, so available and so unknown, but they're here. Just practice yoga, but with assimilation, not with thinking about it, not with nice feelings on occasion. Assimilate. As you know, probably, these immersions in spirit are called samadhis. Samadhi means the thing itself, spirit, the thing out of which all else comes. Samadhi, the thing itself, just aware of spirit. Yes, there are all kinds of gradations of samadhis, yes. I'm just doing a general focus here, but yes, you can have different kinds of samadhis. So let's look into some words from Sri Ramakrishna, and of course what he said was written down by M. Mahendranath Gupta. So M wrote and he called himself M. And then also I'd like to share what Swami Lokeshwarananda said about samadhi, because it's so beautiful. So here are some different ways of understanding this. Absorption in bliss, which changes you, which fills you, which fulfills you. As you develop in it, you find, gee, I was looking for this all my life. I was looking for joy in what? Movies, fast cars, all kinds of things. Here's the joy I've been looking for. Here it is. This absorption. Okay, well, I don't want to confuse you. So let's just stay on track. Samadhi is like losing your identity in God. You thought you were this separate life, this separate personality, and now you're just aware of the spirit part, that it was your true nature, and you were expressing through that body and that personality. It's like a lump of salt melting in water. Just do it. Put some salt in water. You're meditating, and suddenly you're absorbed. It's union with God through this ecstatic state. So here's this beautiful quote. Union with God through this ecstatic state is the ultimate goal of all spiritual disciplines. It's what it's about. Union with God through this ecstatic state is the ultimate goal of all spiritual disciplines. It can be attained through practice of concentration, meditation, or constant repetition of the Lord's name, called japa. Japa is the practice of concentrating and meditating by chanting the Lord's name until you get absorbed in spirit. If you experience samadhi, you'll recall, if you've had it, if you experience samadhi, you lose consciousness of the body and of the outside world for maybe an hour. You come back, an hour is gone. Where did it go? It went to heaven. It went beyond heaven, beyond heaven. M says, Sri Ramakrishna's mind could rise in a moment to the highest spiritual plane, just like that. Click, away he goes. Away he goes. M describes Ramakrishna's samadhi in the gospel. Here's what it's like to witness somebody going into samadhi. As Sri Ramakrishna's soul soared into the realm of divine consciousness, his body became motionless. His eyes were fixed on the tip of his nose, not necessarily. I mean, in this case, it happened. But what I'm saying, you don't have to have the eyes focused there when you're in samadhi. But this was one of the ways he went into samadhi. And his breathing almost ceased. It's like he's not breathing. Sri Ramakrishna was as motionless as a figure in a painting. When a devotee asked Sri Ramakrishna how he felt in samadhi, he replied, now here's what it feels like when you're going into samadhi. I feel like a fish released from a pot into the water of the Ganges, confined into a pot, vast expanse of the big Ganges River. In samadhi, the spiritual aspirant becomes one with God, as a river flows into the sea and no longer has a separate existence. There's an absorption here. As a drop of water falls into the ocean, it becomes part of the ocean. Drop of water into the ocean. In the same way, when you think deeply and repeatedly of spirit, you become spirit. You attain the state of samadhi and go beyond the body and world and all limitations. The finite becomes infinite. What a wonderful possibility for all human beings everywhere. Now quoting that Swami Lokeshwarananda, samadhi, a state of deep meditation in which only one wave of consciousness remains in the mind, and that is spirit. You're only aware of spirit. There are two kinds of samadhi, savikalpa and nirvikalpa. In the first kind, savikalpa, in which you are conscious only of the object of your meditation. You're only aware of God and nothing else. A brass band could go by. When I was camping in my summer of spiritual awareness in 1969, no brass band went by, but they were using power saws to cut down various trees. And you can be so absorbed you're not aware of power saws. Okay, so just aware of what you're focused on. Two, the second kind, nirvikalpa samadhi, this higher immersion. Nirvikalpa, in which you and the object of your meditation and the meditation itself merge together. And you're not conscious of anything. It's all spirit. No ego saying, oh, this is samadhi. No. Just samadhi, just immersion in spirit. Nirvikalpa is the highest state of consciousness. Savikalpa is one step below nirvikalpa. So, want to join? You're invited. Well, you're not invited if whenever you use your mind you're troubled. Then you need to do something about your troubles first. But God comes to help humanity find the way to God. Here it is. There are four kinds of obstacles on the path to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Some say Nirvikalpa and some say Nirbhakalpa. So I say it both ways. So here are the obstacles that keep us from getting absorbed. One, laya. And it does happen. It happened to me. At the time of meditation, you become tired and fall asleep for maybe a month, Every time you feel like you're close, you fall asleep. Your head droops. And sometimes some people snore. If you're meditating with them, now you have to contend with the sound of snoring as you make your effort, and you think, this is too hard, which is the way we easily get discouraged. I'm hoping to encourage you. You're already alive and conscious. It's just working with your life and consciousness. 2, another obstacle on the path. You can only think of worldly objects. You can't get your mind to focus on God. One worldly object after another. 3, kaseya. In this life or in previous births, you experienced some enjoyment which left an impression on your mind. So something from your past life could take the opportunity to come into this fairly clear mind and dominate it with some past delight or wound or hatred or love, sense of marvelous relationship, all kinds of possibilities. This impression, or samskara, this impression which is buried deep in your mind, suddenly comes to the surface during meditation and drowns your mind away from the thought of the Supreme Lord and your soul. 4, yes, another very important one, rasavada or rashavada, depending on whether you say S's sh or s. Rashavada, this is a subtle obstacle in which the mind does not like to leave the bliss of savakalpa samadhi. And you'll go through it. My recommendation is allow yourself to get absorbed and sidetracked in the bliss for a while. It's so wonderful. Yes, sidetracked. Yes, bliss everywhere, wonderful bliss, ecstasy, delight. And then you say, because people around you perhaps, wise counselors say, ignore the bliss. You'll hear that for a while. Ignore the bliss when it's the best thing you've ever experienced, and ignore the bliss. Well, what happens one day you say, where is this bliss coming from? I'd like to go to the source of this. And that helps you gradually to leave the bliss behind and go even higher. Ignore the bliss. Well, I'm not telling you to ignore the bliss, am I? I'm saying enjoy it a lot, but you're going to have to find the source of this bliss, aren't you? This is God inviting you. Come in when you're having bliss. Go in. Go beyond. Ramakrishna could not do this either. He was focused so much on the Divine Mother, he couldn't go beyond where this source of the Divine Mother abided, the Infinite Spirit. So, I'm not recommending this, but his guru, who was helping him to go beyond the bliss, beyond Sabbakalpa Samadhi, he found a little bit of glass, ground glass, and he rubbed it into Sri Ramakrishna's third eye, lower forehead. That's rather dramatic and drastic, but that helped Ramakrishna to go beyond. So, please don't do it to yourself or anybody else. These beings are so high, they get a little license now and then. But I'll tell you, then Ramakrishna experienced this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, formlessness, spirit everywhere. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to say, but there's a follow-up. Ramakrishna then found, having experienced the Divine Mother's vision and having experienced spirit everywhere. He found a lot of people, once they get the samadhi, just spend their time in it because it's so wonderful. And he thought, is that what we're supposed to do? Evolve, and then just dissolve? Well, maybe dissolve in spirit, yes, but then what does spirit want to do? Once you've been merged, assimilated by spirit. He found too many yogis just spending their days in samadhi. And he thought, that's not what God had in mind here. What does Spirit now want to do through you? How does Spirit want to move in the divine play through you? You know, go beyond samadhi. So not only go beyond the bliss, he was saying, one of his most famous comments is, go beyond samadhi. Go beyond. Just what does Spirit now want to do now that you've been immersed in Spirit? What does Spirit want to do? How can it help the downtrodden? How can it help people living in ignorance who don't know Spirit as a reality? So he'd say, go beyond samadhi and enter the divine play. The play God sports in us as man, as woman, as person. Nara Lila, the divine play as a human. Divine play Nitya Radha as a soul devoted to God. Nitya Lila, coming down from absorption into spirit, in the spirit, absorption, coming down from this, enter into and enjoy the divine play. And so he became the spokesperson for people who are aware of God. Now what? What's next? And that is the highest spiritual knowledge we have in yoga so far. The idea of, yes, samadhi by all means. But what then happens? And what's life for? Is it about just kind of neutralizing yourself? Or is it Spirit would like to express in some beautiful ways through you now that you are such a wonderful instrument? All of this depends on God's grace and your grace, but it involves, don't just learn about yoga, practice assimilation. Let yoga become part of you. Assimilate your studies, and then you'll be a yogi, and you'll have a wondrous life. God bless you.